So most of you will not be shocked what the second part of my portfolio is. My portfolio is two-tiered. One is of course in uranium, and that's heavily in uranium, so like 60+%. And the other percentage is basically all in oil. Oil demand is one of the most robust trends in the world. I cannot see in the foreseeable future, in the midterm or even to some extent the long-term, oil demand actually decreasing. And my main argument for that is, one, renewables don't really work. I think that's proven with the energy crisis that we're seeing right now. It's completely crazy, the reliance on Russian gas and oil, and just recently Biden going to OPEC plus and the Saudis basically begging them for oil to produce more oil. So I think oil demand is very robust, and one of the key aspects for me is actually the developing world. So we see here, I have a quote here, and it states that 1.3 billion people consume 60% of all of the world's stuff. That's basically the developed world, and 6.5 billion people consume the other 40%. So to put that in perspective of oil, that means the developed world used 13 barrels of oil per person, whereas the undeveloped world just uses around 3. Now imagine the developing world, of course, it's developing, so the energy consumption are going up. Someone who has who's riding a bike maybe upgrades to a scooter. Someone who has a scooter, is getting more money, etc., wants to upgrade to a car, and all of these consume more oil. People just wanna, go from, like in, let's say, Indonesia or somewhere. Someone just wants to go from having a electric fan to an AC, and that all takes energy. So just based on the developing world, and the developing population of the developing world, the growth in energy system is going to double by 2050. That means massive demand for oil. And to be honest, with the supply shock and how critical and expensive like minerals are, lithium, zinc, cobalt, etc., like electronic cars are just going to get more expensive. And the funny thing is, how do you actually even power your electric car? There's probably like a gas generation behind it, or a coal generation, and maybe hopefully in the future it's going to be nuclear. So that's the first aspect, that's the demand. I see the demand very strong for oil, mainly because of the developing world, and also now we've just seen how terrible renewals are in the Western world, that they just can't shut off the oil at all. Given the policies of the West, this destruction to oil supply is just crazy. So you have big oil companies basically not wanting to reinvest their profits. They're actually just doing share buybacks and giving out dividends. Because really, why would you as a company go out and invest and spend all this money looking for new discoveries, when firstly the policymakers are basically trying to run you out of business, trying to say that your company, that your business is not even going to be alive in like 2030. So why would you go out there and spend all of this money just looking for new discoveries? You're not going to do that. You're going to buy back your shares. You're going to just give dividends because you own the company and you're also getting the dividends, etc. You're kind of just paying yourself and keeping shareholders, approving windfall taxes on oil and gas. This sounds crazy to me, because during COVID, when oil went zero, oil companies, they got hit the worst, right? Where was their tax reliefs? Nothing. But now that the profits, they're making money because of the crazy policies of the West, they're now starting to get taxed. So as an oil company, why would you spend all of your money looking for new discoveries when you're going to be out of business in like 10 years? Or that's what the government is telling you. The second thing is heavy focus on renewables and EV projects. But time and time again, renewables do not work. We've seen that over and over again. They just do not work, and they're very expensive. Even the minerals, the metals to create these like huge ass wind turbines that don't even run when it's not windy or it's snowy or whatever. The last one, the one that I hate the most, is ESG. I hate this the most because there's a duality to this. There's like a Western superiority to this, basically saying to developing countries that are actually trying to up their living standards, get to the same living standards as the world, they're actually telling them to not use more energy, use less energy, don't develop. And the best scenario of this we can see is actually in Sri Lanka. In action, we can see just the awfulness that happened in Sri Lanka. So basically what happened in Sri Lanka was that there was a nationwide ban on the use of synthetic fertilizer and pesticides. So they basically forced the whole of the Sri Lankan economy, all of the farmers, to go organic. And as we can see by the results, it was absolutely brutal. Against the claims of organic methods can produce comparable yields to conventional farming, domestic rice production fell 20% in just 6 months, which is awful because of a country that is self-sufficient in rice, that can feed their whole population with rice, and that's just dropped 20%. So you can't feed your country. You can't feed your country anymore. So that's awful. And because of this, they had to import 450 million worth of rice. This also devastated the tea corporation of Sri Lanka, which is one of its primary exporters. Given all of this fact, given that you can't feed the population, the food prices are rising, given that you have to spend extra money getting in food like rice, given the fact that your primary export, which is tea, is also basically devastated because of this ESG organic bullshit that doesn't work. Yeah, you just basically ruined your country. So I hate the Western duality here of, oh yeah, we're developed, we have all of this because we used all the, we increased our energy consumption, we burned a shitload of coal and consumed a lot of energy, but you don't do that. You stay poor, basically. So that's my outline of why I think the oil is going to stay here and why actually the demand will increase. So next, I'm actually going to look at how am I playing this. So yeah, you could say that just invest in a energy ETF or an oil ETF or like the oil producers. But firstly, a little bit late to the party in that aspect, and secondly, I want the extreme leverage, and I understand that extreme leverage comes with extreme risk.